Airports are loud, impatient places, built for people who can move fast and adapt quickly. For most travelers, delays are annoying. For us, they're dangerous. My husband Daniel and I arrived early that morning, like we always did. Early enough to avoid rushing, early enough to give ourselves room in case something went wrong. Daniel walked beside me with his usual calm posture, but I could tell by the way his fingers gripped the strap of his backpack that he was tense. That backpack wasn't just luggage. It was survival. Inside were his ostomy supplies, sealed pouches, skin barriers, wipes, medical tape, disposal bags. Everything he needed to live normally after emergency surgery 2 years ago. We never checked that bag. Never let it out of sight. Losing clothes was inconvenient. Losing that could put him in real danger. Daniel was 42, gentle by nature, the kind of man who apologized when someone bumped into him. The ostomy hadn't changed his kindness, but it had changed how the world treated him. Travel days were the worst. You can't explain medical dignity to people who don't want to listen. The security line crawled forward inch by inch. Trays clattered against plastic rollers. Shoes piled up. A child cried somewhere behind us. Normal chaos. That's when the woman behind us made herself known. She sighed loudly. Once. Then again. Unbelievable, she muttered. Why do people bring half their house to the airport? I ignored her at first. Daniel always tried to. Engaging never helped. When we reached the conveyor belt, Daniel carefully placed his backpack into a gray bin. I saw the familiar flicker of anxiety cross his face, the quiet what if he never said out loud. That's when the woman leaned forward. Excuse me, she snapped, pointing at Daniel's bag. Can you move faster? Some of us are trying to catch flights. We're moving as fast as we can, I said, keeping my voice steady. She scoffed. Sure you are. Daniel turned slightly, polite as ever. I'm sorry. It's medical. Those 2 words should have ended everything. They didn't. Medical? She repeated loudly, as if tasting something unpleasant. That's not my problem. Before either of us could react, she shoved her carry-on forward. Hard. The wheels slammed into Daniel's backpack just as it rolled onto the belt. The bin tipped sideways. Hey! I shouted. Don't touch our things. The conveyor belt stopped. A TSA officer looked up. The woman immediately threw her hands in the air. See? Now it's stopped. Because they're holding everyone up. The officer approached. Ma'am, please step back. Daniel swallowed. Sir, he said quietly, that bag contains ostomy supplies. They can't be damaged or contaminated. The officer nodded, already taking it seriously. Understood. The woman laughed sharply. Ostomy? That's disgusting. Why would you bring that into public? The words hit like a slap. Daniel's shoulders rounded. He looked down, like he wanted to disappear into the floor. That's enough, the officer said firmly. But the damage was already done. As the officer reached for the bin, the woman leaned forward again. Whether it was impatience or spite, I'll never know, but her foot hooked the strap of the backpack and yanked it backward. The zipper caught. The bag tipped. Supplies spilled out across the airport floor. Time froze. Sealed pouches, wipes, medical equipment, items that had to remain sterile, scattered where hundreds of shoes had walked minutes earlier. Daniel went completely pale. Oh my God, I whispered. The woman recoiled dramatically. Why is that on the floor? That's unsanitary. My hands shook. You did this. She waved dismissively. Well, maybe if you people didn't. Ma'am, the officer cut in sharply, step away. Now. Another officer appeared. Then another. Daniel sank onto a nearby bench, hands trembling. Those supplies were his safety net. Some of them were now useless. A supervisor arrived. Then a medical response officer. Someone said words that made my chest tighten with fear. This is a medical access situation. The woman started complaining loudly, insisting she was the victim, insisting she was being delayed unfairly. But no one was listening to her anymore. Everyone was looking at the man whose medical lifeline lay scattered on a dirty airport floor. And in that moment, I knew this wasn't just about rude behavior. This was about dignity. And she had crossed a line she didn't even understand. The airport doesn't go quiet when something serious happens. It gets sharper. Every sound feels closer, louder, more intrusive. Conversations pause mid-sentence. Shoes stop shuffling. People stare. Daniel sat rigid on the bench, elbows locked against his sides like he was holding himself together by force alone. A TSA officer handed him a small paper cup of water, speaking softly, carefully, the way people do when they know they're standing near something fragile. "I'm okay," Daniel said, though his voice cracked on the word okay. I wasn't. I crouched beside the scattered supplies, my stomach twisting as I recognized what was salvageable and what wasn't. Some packets were still sealed. Others, once sterile, once safe, were now trash. No amount of wiping could undo where they'd landed. The woman, the Karen, though I didn't know her name yet, stood a few feet away, arms crossed, tapping her foot aggressively. "This is ridiculous," she said loudly. "Why is everyone acting like this is a crime scene? It's not my fault he brought whatever that is." A senior TSA supervisor turned to her slowly. "Ma'am, you were instructed to step back." "I didn't touch him," she snapped. "I barely touched the bag. If he's that fragile, maybe he shouldn't fly." The words sucked the air out of my lungs. Daniel flinched. That was it. I stood. "You don't get to decide who deserves to travel," I said, my voice shaking but loud. "You don't get to decide what medical care someone needs. And you definitely don't get to endanger them because you're impatient." She rolled her eyes. "Oh please. People fake medical stuff all the time to get special treatment." A uniformed airport medical liaison stepped forward. "Sir," she said gently to Daniel, "can you tell me how many hours of supplies you lost?" Daniel hesitated. "At least a full day. Maybe more." Her expression hardened. "Then this is no longer a minor incident." The Karen's posture shifted. "Wait, what does that mean?" "It means," the liaison replied evenly, "that interfering with essential medical equipment in a secured area is considered a serious offense." The woman laughed nervously. "You can't be serious." The TSA supervisor pulled out a small notepad. "Ma'am, I need your identification." Her smile vanished. "Why?" "Because you deliberately interfered with another passenger's medical supplies after being warned," he said. "And because we have multiple witnesses." Around us, heads nodded. Phones were out. Someone had recorded the entire thing. The woman's voice rose. "This is harassment. I'm the one being delayed." Daniel finally spoke, his voice quiet but steady. "I didn't ask for special treatment. I just asked not to be harmed." Silence followed. The supervisor handed Daniel a card. "Sir, you and your wife will be escorted to a private screening area. We'll also contact the airline's medical accommodations team immediately." I blinked. "Immediately?" "Yes," he said. "You shouldn't have to manage this alone." Two officers gently guided us away from the checkpoint chaos into a calmer, carpeted corridor. The noise faded behind us like a door closing on a storm. In the private room, Daniel finally let his shoulders drop. He pressed his hands over his face. I hate this, he whispered. I hate needing help. I took his hands. You don't need help. You need access. There's a difference. A nurse arrived within minutes, inventorying what remained usable, sealing what could still be safely packed. Well, arrange a medical escort through the rest of the airport, she explained. And the airline will secure replacement supplies at your destination if needed. Daniel looked up sharply. They can do that? She smiled. Yes. And they should have been doing it all along. Meanwhile, outside the room, the Karen's voice echoed faintly down the hall. You're overreacting. No one told me. This is discrimination against me. The nurse's expression turned icy. Some people think the world revolves around their inconvenience. Another officer stepped in. Ma'am, you're being formally cited and removed from the checkpoint area. The woman sputtered. Removed? For this? For endangering a passenger's medical welfare, he replied. I felt something loosen in my chest. For the first time since the bag tipped over, someone was saying it plainly, what she did mattered. As we were escorted toward the airline desk, Daniel leaned toward me. Thank you for standing up for me. I squeezed his hand. Always. Behind us, security doors closed. And ahead of us, for the first time that morning, the path felt clear again. The airline's medical accommodations office wasn't a room so much as a calm pocket carved out of the chaos. Soft lighting. Neutral walls. A desk without a line of angry travelers behind it. For the first time since the security incident, Daniel's breathing slowed to something close to normal. A representative named Monica sat across from us, tablet in hand, eyes kind but sharp. The kind of person who didn't miss details. I've reviewed the report from TSA, she said. And I want to start by apologizing. This should never have escalated the way it did. Daniel nodded, polite even now. We just want to get home safely. And you will, she replied firmly. But first, we're going to fix what was broken. She tapped her screen. We've already contacted a medical supply partner at your destination airport. Your husband will have a full emergency kit waiting on arrival, no charge. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Thank you. There's more, Monica added. You'll be pre-boarded, escorted through all remaining checkpoints, and seated near the lavatory for accessibility. A flight attendant has been briefed. Daniel blinked. Briefed how? Properly, she said. With respect. For the first time that day, he smiled. As we stood to leave, an airport police officer appeared at the door. Mrs. Carter? He asked, looking at me. Yes? I need you to be aware of something, he said carefully. The woman involved in the incident has been detained for questioning. She's disputing the citation and claims she was discriminated against. I almost laughed. Almost. Is that possible? I asked. The officer's mouth tightened. We have video, multiple witness statements, and a medical impact report. Her claim isn't going anywhere. Good. As we were escorted toward the gate, the airport felt different. Not kinder, just more aware. People moved aside when they saw the medical escort. Staff nodded respectfully. No one stared. At the gate, the flight attendant approached us immediately. She was tall, maybe mid-30s, hair neatly pulled back, eyes alert. Sarah, she said warmly. I've been briefed. You're in good hands. Daniel exhaled. Thank you. As pre-boarding began, a sudden commotion erupted near the seating area. I recognized that voice instantly. This is unbelievable. I've missed my boarding window because of them. The Karen stood near the counter, face flushed, pointing wildly in our direction. 2 airport police officers stood beside her, unimpressed. Sarah's jaw clenched. "Stay here," she told us gently. She stepped forward. "Ma'am, you need to lower your voice." The woman scoffed. "Oh, now you care? I've been treated like a criminal." "You interfered with a passenger's medical supplies," Sarah replied evenly. "That is not a minor issue." "I didn't know." The woman shouted. "No one told me he was." "He told you," I said, stepping forward. "So did I. So did security." Heads turned. Phones came out again. The woman's eyes darted around, realizing too late that this wasn't a private argument anymore. One of the officers spoke. "Ma'am, you've been rebooked on a later flight pending review." Her mouth fell open. "You can't do that." "We already did," he replied. Daniel stood quietly beside me, but I felt his hand squeeze mine. As we walked down the jet bridge, Sarah leaned toward us. "For what it's worth," she said softly, "you handled that with grace." Daniel shook his head slightly. "I didn't feel graceful." "Grace isn't about how you feel," she said. "It's about what you choose not to become." On the plane, we settled into our seats, comfortable, accessible, safe. The flight attendant discreetly checked in, ensuring Daniel had what he needed. As the cabin door closed, I glanced out the window. Down below, through the terminal glass, I saw the Karen one last time, arms flailing, arguing with a desk agent, utterly powerless. Not because anyone was cruel to her, but because consequences had finally arrived. Daniel leaned back, eyes closed. "I'm tired," he murmured. "Rest," I said, brushing my thumb over his knuckles. "We're almost home." And for the first time since the trip began, I believed it. The plane lifted smoothly, the low hum of the engine settling into something almost soothing. For the first time all day, Daniel's body truly relaxed. His shoulders dropped. His hands unclenched. The tension that had been holding him upright slowly loosened its grip. Sarah checked on us once more after takeoff, her voice gentle, professional. "If you need anything at all, anything, just press the call button. I'll be right here." Daniel nodded. "Thank you." "Really?" When she walked away, he leaned his head back and closed his eyes. I watched his breathing even out, steady and calm, and felt the tight knot in my own chest finally begin to dissolve. We didn't speak much during the flight. We didn't need to. Sometimes silence isn't empty, it's healing. About halfway through, Daniel reached for my hand. "You know what hurts the most?" he said quietly. "What?" Not what she said. Not even what she did. He paused. "It's how easy it was for her to forget I was a person." I squeezed his fingers. "She didn't forget," I said softly. "She chose not to see." Daniel considered that. Then nodded. When we landed, everything happened exactly as promised. A medical escort waited at the gate. Supplies were ready. A staff member double-checked the packaging, ensuring everything was intact, clean, safe. Daniel looked at the kit like it was something sacred. "Thank you," he said to the coordinator. "You have no idea what this means." She smiled. "Actually, I do." As we walked through the terminal toward baggage claim, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Airport incident report update. Individual responsible cited for interference with medical access. Airline travel privileges under review." I showed Daniel. He exhaled slowly. "I don't want revenge." "I know," I said. "This isn't that." Outside, the evening air was cool and calm. The sky had softened into shades of gold and blue. The kind of quiet beauty that reminds you the world can still be gentle. As we waited for our ride, Daniel spoke again. I used to think asking for accommodations meant I was taking something from others. I looked at him. And now? Now I see it's just asking to exist safely. He met my eyes. And no one gets to take that away. We got home late that night. Our house was dark, familiar, safe. Daniel set the backpack down carefully, then paused, resting his hand on it for a moment longer than necessary. I almost lost this today, he said. But you didn't, I replied. He nodded. Because people spoke up. Because someone listened. We stood there for a moment, holding on to that truth. Somewhere out there, a woman was still insisting she was the victim. Still angry. Still convinced the world owed her something it never promised. But that no longer mattered. Because dignity doesn't come from winning arguments. It comes from surviving them without losing yourself. Daniel turned off the light and headed toward the bedroom. I followed, heart full, exhaustion finally catching up. Tomorrow would be normal again. And that was more than enough.